This is a tutorial about Altair, the newest of the plotting modules available in Python. The plotting theory behind Altair is very interesting, but it's certainly not necessary to know the theory to use the module. Graph theory has been death on pie charts for years, but pie charts have never gone away. They remain very popular. So what's the lesson there? My own theory is that if someone asks me for a pie chart, then I give them a pie chart. And that's my own fundamental theory of plotting. So you can look up the documentation if you're interested, but if not, I think you'll get by. Now, two other points worth noting before we start. The first is that the tutorials will be done in Jupyter notebooks. There's no need to confine Altair charts to notebooks, but the notebooks are very handy for tutorials. It's much easier to run code in cells, rerun that code, than it is in a normal integrated development environment, and that's why we're using notebooks. The second point is that the pandas data frame is the fundamental data unit on which Altair charts are based. Other plotting options allow pandas to be used, but Altair more or less insists on it. The data frames are marvelous, but if you're not familiar with them, then you're going to have to familiarize yourself with them first and then come back. But that won't be a problem because the tutorial will be here when you need it. So with that out of the way, let's dive in and we look at scatter charts. First, we open a notebook by typing Jupyter Lab at the prompt and hitting enter. The notebook opens in the browser. We don't have time to talk here about installing Jupyter Labs or anything like that. Altair will work fine in a regular Python file. So the first thing we do is import three packages. We import pandas and Altair because we need them, and then the third one that we import in this case is data from Vega datasets. Data is a data loader object provided by Vega for just the purpose that we're using here to get a closer look at how Altair works. So now that we have it imported, we're going to call iris on the data object and save that as a data frame df. And then we take a look at what df is. There are 4 numerical columns and 1 categorical, which is ideal. Now the Altair chart itself, it's the syntax a little different from most Python stuff. There are 4 beats: alt, chart, mark, encode, alt, chart, mark, encode. It takes a little while to get used to it, but you get there in the end. So in this case, we're going to use mark point to create our first scatter chart, which will have points in it. So we create an object C as C equals alt chart. df is the parameter taken by chart. Mark point takes no parameter or argument at all, and encode takes x and y parameters. X is petal length, y is petal width. Close the bracket, and then type C so we can see the C chart, and hit shift and enter to run the code. And there it is. Now, it's not the most impressive looking chart, and that's a factor of mark point because the points are transparent. So we're going to hit C, hit V to copy and paste. We're going to change mark point to mark circle, which fills in the points. Shift and enter, and there are the points, and it looks a bit more like a scatter chart. So we hit C and V again. We're going to add another method. We're going to chain a 5th method to the chart. This is interactive. Interactive, hit shift and enter, see the chart. Interactive lets you do 2 things. Firstly, it lets you drag the chart around to any part of it that you might want to look at. And secondly, by either rolling the mouse wheel or pinching a touchpad, you can zoom in, zoom out on the chart. Now, we're going to copy paste again, and we're going to add another parameter to encode. This parameter is color, and what this will do is we'll identify the 3 different species that are in the chart. Shift enter, and we see now that the 3 different species are colored, and this is a much more informative chart now because we can see where the different species are. So there's just one last thing to do now in this preliminary look, at scatter charts, we're going to add one final parameter to the encode method, and that parameter is tooltip. So in the tooltip, you can put in any of the 5 column names that we have. We just put in species and petal length, petal width here because that's what we have in the chart. We hit shift and enter to see the chart, and what we notice now is that when you hover over any individual point in the scatter plot, you can see the species, the petal length, and the petal length and the petal width. So this is a much more informative chart now. There's much more information here than there would be in just a flat, non-interactive, non-tooltipped file. So that's it for scatter charts. Next time out, we'll look at line and bar charts, some data aggregation and stuff like that. It's going to be fun times. Please click like, subscribe and notify to keep the charts coming. Live long and prosper.